Hi everyone, remember me? I'm back. I know I've been away for a few weeks, maybe even months, just taking some time out at the end of last year to kind of get my shiz together because it was pretty wild last year. So sorry I've been away from you for so long, but I am back now for 2020 and here to give you some hopefully helpful advice. The inspiration for this week's video came from a LinkedIn post that I posted earlier this week, which contained a link to all of the vacation scheme placement deadlines, which I thought was quite helpful. And I will also link it in the description for this video as well. And one of the comments that I got on the post from a trainee at a London firm was something along the lines of, is there even any point in applying now? Meaning that because the deadlines are so close, is there any point in still applying? And my response to that was about a page long, and I managed to condense it down into a couple of sentences. But basically the point is overwhelmingly yes, and I'm going to tell you why if you stay tuned. So the first major reason to apply is that the majority of firms recruit predominantly from their vacation placement rather than from the training contract application process. So if you don't apply for the vacation scheme and you only apply for the straight training contract in June, July, August, whenever that deadline is for that particular firm, then you are massively prejudicing yourself and you're reducing your chances of getting through the process because, as I said, not all firms, and they don't recruit exclusively from the Vac scheme, but definitely most firms recruit mostly from the Vac scheme. So if you can apply for the Vac scheme, then you absolutely should do because you're massively increasing your chances of getting through the process. You might be thinking that there's no point in applying at this stage because the applications have been open for months and months now and they've probably allocated all of their places for the next stage of the process already. So what's the point in applying really close to the deadline? Most firms, in my experience, actually don't start allocating those places until after the deadline is closed. So it really doesn't matter when within the application window that you apply. Obviously, there will be a date and timestamp on your application submission, so they will know if you've applied at 11:59 and the deadline was midnight and it won't look great. But other than that, it really doesn't matter when within that window you apply. Some firms will start allocating them as they come in, and you can usually find out from the graduate recruitment website or an FAQ page whether firms do start doing that, in which case it is better to apply early because the more chance you've got of getting through. However, that isn't a barrier to applying because the whole point of having a deadline is that as long as you submit your application before that deadline, it will be considered. And even if they do allocate them as they go along, if you've got a really strong application, you may well oust out somebody else's application who made it earlier, but they're just not quite as good as yours because the chances are they haven't actually started sending out those invitations to the next stage. So even if you are late to the party, if you've got a good application, there's still a really good chance that you'll get through. Another reason to apply is that it's such a good opportunity for you to find out if the firm is the right fit for you. Don't forget that this isn't a one-way street. You need to choose the right firm for you as well. It's not just about scrabbling around trying to get any training contract from any firm. I mean, let's be real about this for a minute. You are pretty much going to give your entire life to this establishment for a minimum of 2 years. And you've worked too hard for this and put too much effort into your applications to screw it all up by failing to complete your training contract because you're so miserable in the firm that you're working in. And this does happen, not often, don't panic, but it is really important for you to make sure that the firm is right for you and make sure that you do all the possible research to make that decision, and spending a week or 2 weeks in that firm is invaluable in making that choice. So it's really important for you that you take that opportunity if you possibly can. There's really no downside to applying for the vacation scheme because what's the worst that can happen? You don't get through the process and then you're in exactly the same position you're in now. The best case scenario, you get through and you get the training contract. A lot of people worry that it might be a black mark against your name to apply this year and not get through and then want to apply to the same firm again. But in my experience, again, that's really not the case. I'm a second year applier. I spectacularly failed the first year and got through the second year. And I know from speaking to other recruiters from other firms that some of them actually consider it a plus point. It's like, well, you didn't get through the first year, but you're so determined to work here and you're so passionate that you waited a whole year and came back again strong. So I think it can almost be to your credit rather than to your detriment to apply 2 years in a row. So I wouldn't worry about that at all. The only caveat I would mention to there being no downside to applying is if you are currently going through an exam period and you really want to focus on your revision and you think applying for a vacation scheme might impact on your revision and potentially prejudice your exam results, which are also really important. So I can't answer that question for you. You have to take your own view as to what's the most important thing, and you might decide that actually you really need to focus on your exams right now because they're the most important, particularly if you haven't done well in previous exams or something like that. So I totally respect that if you're in that position, and you can still apply for the training contract later on. But if you're in a position where you can apply for vacation placement, then you absolutely should. Okay, so some quick tips if you are planning to apply for a vacation scheme placement and the deadline's in a week or two. First thing, open your application form today. Even if the deadline is a couple of weeks away, you want to make sure that you know what you're up against and what the questions are so that you can plan your time effectively. And also, if there are any questions on there that you can't answer, for example, one that asks you to detail all your charity work or something and you haven't done any, you've actually still got 2 weeks where you could do some charity work and you could fill that box. If you're Birmingham based, holler at me and I'll try and help you out with something if you are in that boat. Secondly, you want to make sure that you have several attempts. You don't just want to try and do it all in one go because the chances are you'll make mistakes and you want time to review it a few times with fresh eyes. So even if you know you're not going to complete it today, just open it today and have a look at it. Secondly, if you started drafting your application forms a few months ago or a few weeks ago but you just haven't submitted them yet, make sure you check that all of your facts are up to date. I know that sounds obvious, but if you've talked about a news story that was recent in October, it's probably not recent anymore and something else might have happened in between then and now that makes your answer out of date. Also, things like offices can close, departments can close, people can get promoted, all sorts of things. So just make sure if you've mentioned things like that, that you've checked they are absolutely 100% up to date. I know that sounds really pernickety, but this is the kind of attention to detail that you need to be able to show. So make sure that all your facts are 100% up to date at the point of submission. Okay, that's about it. I hope that's been helpful to you. If you do have any questions about vac schemes or anything else, then don't hesitate to get in touch with me. I know I can be absolutely terrible at replying, and that's just because I have all kinds of questions coming in across all kinds of platforms. So if you are waiting for a response from me, I really don't mind if you just give me a nudge and say, hey, still waiting, because I might have just skirted over it or forgotten to reply. So I don't mind. Also, I've lost my phone at this present moment. I should have one by the middle to end of next week, but I might not be able to reply to anything until then. So please bear with me. All right, guys, I hope that's been helpful. Keep giving me content ideas, keep giving me feedback. It's a new year, I'm here to help you, so always happy to have suggestions from you. All right, guys, enjoy the rest of your week. Catch up with you again soon. Bye.